Stephen, I'm excited to catch up with you here at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. To get things started, tell us just a little bit about Moso Networks, the company, and what kind of problems in the private wireless market you're trying to solve.
Yeah, well, private 5G has been a really hot topic the past couple of years, and we're seeing that start to accelerate as we get into 2026. So Moso, about 3.5 years ago, we started this company because we saw this problem where private 5G was too complicated. We needed to make it a lot simpler, and we had all the tools in our toolkit in terms of technology, and we wanted to put it all together so that we make enterprises of all sizes capable of bringing 5G into their business today to solve real business problems. So Moso, a U.S. organization, we have team members across the U.S. that are doing everything from product, engineering, support, and really working arm in arm with our partners that are system integrators, managed service providers, and operators that want to bring enterprises these simpler networks. And what we're doing, we bring the RAN piece, we bring really simple software that manages the full life cycle of these products. So everything from provisioning and planning to deployment on day one to day two, troubleshooting and management, monitoring these systems. And we bring together an ecosystem of partners that put the whole technology together, all the core and together with the radio. We really make it simple, pre-integrated for customers to get started with this technology.
So you had mentioned acceleration in 26 in the private 5G space. I want you to expand on that, but maybe take us back into 25. What are some of the trends that have shaped the market to this point?
Sure, it's difficult looking at kind of what you see in the news, right, on private 5G. There's big logos and a lot of big kind of announcements on who's doing these networks. And if you look at it like that, it's kind of few and far between who's adopting. If I'm a smaller business or medium-sized business, how can I go out and do what these big Fortune 50 companies are doing? And what we saw in 2025 is this adoption in the smaller, medium-sized business space, where you start to engage IT teams and OT teams and help them understand this technology is not complicated. You don't need to be experts in this technology, whether you're in the education space or logistics space, or you're doing events, or even utility companies that have been really slow to kind of adopt, whether it's cost or whether it's just trying to fit it in the right solution. So 2025 for Moso, we saw people looking at that shift in how they think about the technology, and then also looking at us as bringing this solution that's more available, more simple and accessible for them to adopt.
Yeah, let's expand on that a little bit, because I think you're exactly right. Your customers, they're not trying to buy technology, right? They're trying to buy a business outcome. Is that the right way to think of it?
Yeah, absolutely. And for a couple of years, we were really stuck in, let's try to sell the technology, kind of the industry as a whole. And of course, that's not the right approach. Businesses are not buying technology to just sit there, right? So the really cool thing we're seeing recently is this shift from thinking about 5G as this kind of scary technology into understanding what it can do, that it is accessible, and then figuring out how do I bring it into the infrastructure that I already have as either a replacement for something that hasn't worked very well or augmenting what I already have. And we look at it, this kind of Wi-Fi plus idea in a lot of conversations where people have been thinking about it as, well, is this going to replace my Wi-Fi? How do I look at the ROI or the cost compared to that? And we're really going in and saying, well, look, with this new technology, you can solve all these other problems, whether it's, if you're in a logistics yard, for example, and you have these autonomous vehicles you want to connect. So that's difficult over Wi-Fi, just the way the technology works with roaming and mobility. Or if you're doing things that need wider area coverage, for example, maybe it's an event or maybe it's a utility substation or something that needs this connectivity. So we're seeing companies looking at it a bit different, where we can have these conversations on the problem they're trying to solve instead of, hey, here's 5G, with this kind of carrier mentality.
So back to these kind of overall market dynamics, it's always been a fragmented market. There's always been some ebbs and flows in terms of big vendors exiting, specialists rising, and so forth. Help me understand what differentiates Moso from a product and business approach.
Sure. Yeah, the consolidation item is something that in 2025 I think really was something we were paying close attention to. There definitely been some key consolidations, companies coming together, but also some exits from the business, because private 5G has taken quite a long time to start accelerating, but we're definitely seeing that now. And that's what has us exciting, kind of moving into 2026 as adoption accelerates. But what makes us different on that product side and business side, I think, is with that shift that I mentioned on the enterprise, how they're thinking about it, how they're looking at cost. We're really well positioned going into 2026 for a couple of reasons. One, on the product side. So we've invested in 5G for over the past couple of years, right? Where we're trying to bring the latest technology, SoC-based radios. So all of our radios are Qualcomm-based. We have a more than 20-year relationship with Qualcomm. And so with that, we can build these simple, what we call all-in-one radios. And what that means is they're very, very similar to Wi-Fi access points in their deployment. You can just plug in an Ethernet cable, connect it back into your LAN system, and you can have this connectivity up and running very, very quickly. So, removing all the complexities of how you might think of even O-RAN context, where you have different servers and a lot of different workloads being run inside the network. So we're bringing that simplicity on the radio side. The other thing that we're doing is we're really investing heavily in our software management platform. So companies want visibility. They want to make sure that their technicians can go and deploy the network easily, that their IT team or OT teams can see what's happening, can monitor it for security, can monitor it for uptime, and then if something were to happen, go in and find the issue quickly. So our tool provides all of that capability. And the other product item, which is kind of bleeding a little into the business side, is we've taken this approach of better together as an ecosystem. So one key item that we don't build ourselves is the core.
Yeah.
And the reason we decided not to do that is because these core companies have different values, different architectures, different things they can deliver for the customer. So if you take one of our partners, Druid, for example, they have a fantastic core and they have a lot of experience in the space and they've been around for over 20 years. And so we have really close integration with them. So a customer that wants to use that core, we have pre-integrated. We can get that customer up and running in a matter of an hour or two, generally, from zero to connecting clients. And we have other partners as well on the simpler side, like a Taya. And so with that architecture, we've actually put part of the core on the radio, all the data planes on the radio. And so we have the centralized control plane in the cloud. And so what that enables a customer to do, instead of running a core on-prem, which some customers want to do, others maybe not, you can just deploy the radio, have it connect back over the internet or into a core that's running on a cloud inside their infrastructure. And that way you don't have a lot of equipment on-premise. It allows you to more easily create these distributed systems, which we're seeing a lot more adoption on that side. So long answer on that bridge item. But on the business side, Moso has a US-based organization. We have really strong white glove support, which our customers love. I mean, big customers like we work with Comcast, really close relationships with them as far as that support aspect. Companies want to know that you're going to be there to help them every step of the way, and we provide that for companies big and small. And the other thing that we're seeing is the way that these deployments are being done is they're very project-based. And so you'll have customers come to us and say, I need to deploy a project in 2 weeks. Or we've done the integration, we've done all the background work, so they have it in their back pocket, but they need the products now. And so we bring that US-based warehousing of products and have them available for our customers.
So as you continue to leverage this ecosystem that you've cultivated and maintain the flexibility to go into enterprises of different size across different verticals, where do you expect to see the next growth wave come from? Do you think it's going to be a particular industry, a particular use case, or all of the above?
This is something we talk about quite a bit, actually. And as specialized as we'd love to be in different verticals, we're seeing this explosive growth across many verticals. So, working in the utility space and logistics space, doing work in education, campus coverage, events. Our products work within all of these different verticals. And what we're seeing is that we're finding specialization within the SI space or the operator space, where we can bring that technology to them and they can specialize it and solve problems specifically for their customers, whether it's pairing with the right core in some cases or bringing the right applications, and again, bringing that whole system together for the customer to solve those problems. And so as we're looking at adoption, that's where it's a bit all over the place, to be honest. And a couple of recent ones, we're seeing people talk about autonomous vehicles and robotics and things. All these are possible and enabled by 5G, but at scale we're even seeing just basic connectivity. People want to connect their forklifts that are traveling around their logistics facilities. And that's just a basic computer on the forklift. So you're really just connecting like a 5G device back to this new 5G network. People want to connect tablets. They want to connect static security cameras. So these are really basic functions that we're seeing much more wide adoption. And the ROI is really easy to define for a lot of these companies because it's enabling them to do things they couldn't do before or things that they were challenged with previously. But I think as we get into 2026, and we'll see here at MWC, Edge AI is really picking up. And we've heard a lot about and talked a lot about ourselves this idea that Edge AI is fantastic, but you need this infrastructure, this fabric of connectivity. And that's what 5G is going to bring for all these Edge AI applications, whether it's in manufacturing where you need low latency, high performance connectivity, or logistics where you have high mobility, and we're even doing some things around LiDAR, which has really high bandwidth requirements and super low latency dependencies that need to get back to some Edge AI compute. So I think as we see Edge AI adoption across all kinds of applications, private 5G will power all of this connectivity.
One last question, Stephen. Moso Networks. There's an interesting story behind that name. I was hoping you'd share that with our audience.
Yeah, great question. So it's an exciting one for me because when we were starting the company, the name is always something that can be really important from a kind of kickoff. It's hard to change your name as you go through. And so I wanted something that was connected to nature, but also reflected what we wanted the company to be. And so after a lot of searching, late nights, early kind of ChatGPT kind of searching, came across Moso bamboo, which has some really interesting characteristics. One, it is the fastest growing plant on Earth. It can grow up to 1 meter a day. So literally you can sit there and you can watch this plant grow, if you're patient enough, of course. But what really connects it is in bamboo forest, they're all connected through this complex underground system of stems that share nutrients and really act as a single big organism. So when we took a step back and said, well, that's perfect for private 5G, right? The complexity is underneath. It's all connected, this fabric of connectivity. And above, bamboo's a really simple plant. It has a lot of versatile functionality and grows really fast. So this idea of simplicity, easy to deploy, resilient, and then making the technology accessible really connected what we wanted the company to be.
That's a great story, Stephen. I appreciate you sharing that, and I appreciate you taking the time to share your perspective with our audience.
Yeah, great. It's been great chatting with you. Thank you.